Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the cheapest, most feature-packed optics on the market. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and talk about Gun Deals. If you don't know, Gun Deals is a sponsor of the channel, and of course, all they are is a website that provides you with links to the best products. A lot of the times I do a lot of my shopping on there, though again, they don't buy or sell anything. I just peruse the website, and if I find something on there that interests me and it's for a particularly good deal, no pun intended, then I try and pick it up. So if you would like to help out the channel, of course, just go ahead and check them out. You'll probably find something that you're already interested in for a very good price. Now, if you want to help me out personally, you can of course like and share and subscribe. All that sort of stuff is free, and you can also of course comment literally anything down below, and all of that sort of stuff will help me out in the YouTube algorithm. There's also steel targets, which I am quickly running out of, and I probably won't have more in stock just because steel prices have started to skyrocket. So it's basically tripled from just a few months ago. And then of course there is Subscribestar, which is basically a pro to a Patreon. You send me a couple bucks every month, and I send you some additional content and get you entered in some very cool giveaways. So now let's go ahead and talk about the Hiram 1-6 and 1-4 model scopes. Now they're all first focal plane, and of course, full disclosure right at the beginning, they did send me 3 scopes to test. So 2 of the 1-6 model and then 1 of the 1-4 model. Now on top of sending me these 3 scopes for free, they also paid me $300 in ammunition. So with that $300, I went ahead and bought a case of 7.62 by 39 for around $400, and on top of about 700 rounds of 7.62 by 39, I also put several boxes of 308. So in terms of round count, we're about 850 to 1,000 rounds on all of these scopes, though we only actually shot through 2 of the scopes because the original 1-6 that they sent me came with fragmented glass. Not really fragmented glass, but it looked like the inside was covered with blemishes on the inside, like the reticle had broken and kind of spread over all of the glass. So this is the only optic that actually did not get shot because it arrived broken. The other 2 broke during testing. Now before we get into all of that, let's go ahead and go over the base boring statistics. So these are of course Chinese scopes, 60-61 aluminum, 1-piece body, 30mm main tube, but they do have this enlarged section towards the end, which is good and bad. Generally that means you can get a little bit more light at the end or a little more durable depending on what the design is. However, in this case it kind of limits what scope mounts you can use. Now their included scope mounts are quite good, and of course they do fit. The weight and size is fairly average actually. This is the 1-4 model. It's about 9.5 inches long and about 18 ounces, so it's by no means a large or heavy LPVO, and of course these are all first focal plane. Now as you'll probably notice, they do have exposed turrets that sound and feel just fine. A lot better than some other super budget scopes. On top of that, they are illuminated both red and green. On the 1-4 model, the green is actually mostly daylight bright, which I actually find quite nice for, again, a scope in this price point around $100-ish. In terms of eye box and eye relief, they're all pretty standard as well. You have about 3.5 inches of eye relief, and you can move forward and backwards a little bit without too tight of an eye box. On top of that, the glass on the 1-4 and the 1-6 model, though again, remember this one here has the fragmented reticle on the inside, so this one here came broken from them. The glass is actually mostly comparable with scopes that are a little bit more expensive in the $200 to $300 price range. Again, most Chinese glass looks very similar. They're very similar to the Strike Eagle, which I have right here from Vortex. Not quite as good as the Swamp Fox Arrowhead, but again, they have very budget price, but more of that $200 to $300-ish price point glass because most Chinese glass looks very similar. Now, where they kind of fall behind in, for me anyways, is going to be field of view. I believe the 1-6 model has about 105 feet of field of view, and the 1-4 model has about 100 feet of field of view. Now that's fine and adequate, but it's nothing spectacular. Also interesting to note, it might be kind of hard to tell on camera, but the 1-4 has more of a matte finish, and the 1-6 has more of a glossy, like nitride looking finish. So for super budget scopes, they have fairly standard features. As you can see in the footage when they were working, I was absolutely able to hit targets in between 0 and 200 yards, no problem whatsoever. The furthest I took them was about 250 yards. It is a first focal plane reticle, so in that case it's quite nice for people who like that sort of thing. I'm not a huge fan of first focal plane in LPVOs, especially 1-4s and 1-6s. I prefer just a standard second focal plane reticle because, again, inside of 0 to 300 yards, I'm not really using the reticle anyways. It can be nice for certain things, and I do understand that, but for me personally, not a huge feature. Now, the reticle themselves are actually quite good. It's a circle, kind of mostly horseshoe design with a cross in the center and then a BDC ladder. I did not test out the BDC ladder, though again, it should be fairly close. 5.56 is a very easy cartridge to make a ladder for, and there are many companies that do it very well. So I did not have any problems with the reticles in these whatsoever, except of course for the 1-6 that came a little fragmented, so it was definitely a little bit distracting. And on top of that, the glass is good enough that I was able to do quite a bit of night shooting with the 1-6 model, the other 1-6 model that is on that gun right now. Just using a weapon light, the Streamlight ProTac HLX 1000 lumen, the high lumen version, of course. And of course, the glass is good enough, bright enough, clear enough, all that sort of stuff to use at night, provided you are using a high quality flashlight or just a flashlight that has enough lumens to light up what you're shooting at. Now, as I already mentioned, all three scopes broke in their own little way, not due to recoil, but due to the drop test, and of course, the one that arrived broken that I did not shoot at all, and they were very fast in getting me out a replacement one. And I hope that they would be as fast to you if you were to actually buy one of these. So this 1-6 model was dropped on this gun. Every optic that I test for the most part gets a double drop test. So 2 shoulder height drops, one on the top of the optic, one on the side of the optic. And this particular optic failed. One, the rings, the internal rings that hold the 0 in position broke on me, so they actually rotate freely underneath the turrets themselves. So it does not hold 0 anymore. The optic just does not do that anymore. It shifted about 1 foot down and left at 50 yards after the drop test. So that is a fail in my book, and of course not holding 0 anymore is a pretty big problem and basically unsafe to shoot with this optic on it. Now the 1-4X model was on my Palmetto State Armory Gen 3, their new AR-10s, very nice guns. That one there was dropped on there, and while initially it seemed just fine, the adjustment, the magnification ring is broken. Internally, that tube that moves back and forth when you move your adjustment ring is off of its tracks and locked up on the inside, so shifted or broke free or however that works, which I've had on other optics as well break in this exact same way. Much more expensive optics break in this exact same way. But basically this optic is only adjustable from 4 to 3.75, and then it is just completely locked, so I can move it about that much and it kind of clicks into position and then just locks up. I'm sure if I threw this in a vise and really put some pressure on it, I could absolutely rotate it back to 1X, but at that point you're probably destroying the internals. Now this one here was in an AIM Sports mount, which I was just doing some testing on. They have some very budget mounts. This one here is actually a 175 height mount, which I actually quite like. And of course the 1-6 was dropped in their own mount. Now, a silver lining to this is that their mounts are extremely budget and extremely good actually. I just dropped the Strike Eagle 2 more times today actually, and again at 300 yards the mount held 0. So the mount and the optic combo for really budget optics, or if you're just looking for a budget mount, the Hiram mount is quite good, and it's a very simple reason for that. You have 2 integrated recoil lugs on the bottom that hold very tight to your upper receiver, so there's almost no forward and backward play at all when you have this not tight but just sitting on your rail. There's almost no play forward and back. And it also has 3 locking lugs, or 3 bolts that tighten down over a very large surface area, so you get very even pressure over a very large surface, combined with integrated recoil lugs, and of course your standard 70, 75, or 60, 61 aluminum hardcoat anodized. Super light, super effective. I torqued the bottom screws down to 30 foot-pounds and the top to 20, or not foot-pounds, sorry, inch-pounds. I mix them up sometimes. The top screws down to 20 inch-pounds and the side screws down to 30 inch-pounds. So the mounts are quite good, and again they're only like $20 to $30. So if you're looking for a bunch of budget mounts or just 1 or 2, These are an excellent buy and rival the UTG AccuSync mounts, both of which I think are quite good. However, the finish on this is nicer. It looks a little better subjectively, but again, in terms of value, I think the UTG AccuShot or AccuSync mount and this mount are basically on par. The optics, however, aren't. So this is, of course, the Hiram or the Hiram, however you say that, and this is the UTG AccuShot. Now, this is one of their 1 to 8 models. These are, again, I bought this one here specifically for $100, though generally they're anywhere from $100 to $150, $160, sometimes with a mount, and especially get the one with the BG4 reticle, the UTG one that is, and that is an excellent value optic. Now, I've owned 4 of these, and I've dropped all of them with the same double drop test. None of these have failed. So even though these are still very, very budget, these absolutely pack a punch in terms of value. And again, the AccuShot, the UTG AccuSync mount is excellent. The Hiram mount, or not this one, but the Hiram mount is also excellent, but the optics themselves are just a little less tanky. And I mean, it's fairly simple to see why. These ones here have actual true locking turrets, that there's a lock ring that locks down the turret so they cannot adjust. I've had very little zero shift on these optics as well. And again, these are very, very budget. They don't have any sort of external illumination. That is on top in the rear here. And overall, they're small, lightweight, and again, 1 to 8 magnification for a budget price. These are still the best budget scopes on the market, followed by the Monstrum G3 sort of scopes. But again, these two are still the highest value, highest performing budget scopes. I still would not recommend the Hiram for anything other than a very cheap range gun, varmint gun, 22, anything like that. It's going to be perfectly fine for. Again, I drop my scopes. I really test my scopes to see if they're going to hold up, because I don't do it for myself, because most of the time I'm testing them for you guys. So I want to know if you guys get something, are you guys getting a good product? Is it going to last? Is it truly high value? Because just being cheap does not mean high value. It actually has to provide some sort of benefit for you. The UTG AccuShot scopes absolutely do. The Hiram scopes, not so much. So again, if you're using it on a target rifle, a just dedicated target rifle, low caliber target rifle, 22 varmint, 17 HMR, anything like that, they're going to be just fine until you drop them. Now again, most people don't drop the rifles, but it does happen accidentally, and then people like me do it on purpose to really test them. But for right now, I would not recommend these for anything serious whatsoever. Truck gun, home defense, anything where the gun might actually need to be used in a life or death scenario. You'd be better off spending the $100 on a $100 red dot, because there are lots of high value red dots out there in the same price point that will absolutely take a beating and keep on going. The Hiram scopes, not so much. Now, I don't foresee doing another video for these guys after this one comes out, for pretty obvious reasons, but even for me, I still got value out of it, because again, yes, they did pay me an ammunition that I had to go out and shoot for this review, but I got to go out, shoot my guns, get more practice, get more reps in. So hopefully you guys learned something about this budget scope, and I got to shoot more, which I enjoy doing. Though actually the mounts are actually pretty good, and they did send me 3 of them, so I will actually continue using them, because they don't seem to have a problem holding zero whatsoever. So I'll probably still use these as just like really budget mounts, because they are quite cool in their design. So that's about it for the video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think of these cheap scopes down in the comments down below, or any other budget accessory that I should check out. But that's about it for it. Again, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff is free. Comment literally anything down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.